Each and every one of us. Last year, there were 77 individuals, citizens, that were killed in 73 crashes investigated within our jurisdiction. Already this year, we have had 9 people that have been killed on our streets. Now, that's 4 more than we had at this exact same time last year. Our transportation division is working hard in cooperation with other city departments and our community partners to make Charlotte streets safer. Today speaking is Deputy Chief Jeff Estes, who's over the Special Services Group, and he's here to talk more about these efforts. Chief Estes.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you today about our traffic enforcement efforts and our work with Vision Zero, which is the City of Charlotte's efforts to reduce traffic deaths on our roadways. When I got the message to come speak this morning, I'll be honest with you, I really wanted to make sure that I talked about the why behind what we do with this to give a human perspective. So just to tell you, I wasn't always in a white shirt up giving a talk to the media about efforts. It wasn't that long ago. I was an officer on the streets responding and investigating wrecks and fatal wrecks. And I can tell you that officers who see way too much already, when you have to go at 2 in the morning and knock on the door of a house that's dark where people are sleeping, and you see parents come to the door with their pajamas on, click on that porch light and see it's the police, many times they would fall to the floor without even speaking with you because they know what's taking place. Or standing in the living room having to explain to them why they've lost their loved one, many times innocently, in an incident that's absolutely 100% preventable. That leaves an indelible mark. And you may ask, and we hear all the time, about the enforcement efforts and listen, it would be much easier for officers not to make the traffic stops out there. I mean, most of the times when you do, you get grief from the citizens. Nobody was actually speeding or texting or missed that light or whatever. But the reason that we do that is because we know what it feels like to be in that living room at 2 in the morning. We know what it feels like to be out among the broken glass and twisted metal and see people's lives literally shattered across a roadway there. When we see that and we see somebody who's exercising bad judgment on the roadways, that's why we make these stops. That's why Chief Putney has made sure that our department is focused on enforcing the traffic laws, which is what we are sworn to do. So in conjunction with the City of Charlotte and all of our partners at the City of Charlotte, we have entered into what we call a Vision Zero. We've talked about it before, and I think you know kind of the idea. But basically what it is that we're focusing enforcement in areas where we have recognized that there's a high incidence of injury and crashes in the areas. And what we do is we try to do at least two times a week, focus specific targeted enforcement in these areas where we've seen increased crashes. Already this year, we've given out more than 16,000 violations. That's just in the first 6 weeks of this year, compared with 11,000 in the same time period from before. We've written a little more than 1,400 more speeding tickets than we did same time last year. I just want to remind, our speeding ticket is expensive. If you get one, you're talking about more than $200 and the possibility of your insurance going up. It's not something we do flippantly. It's just that we wanted to make sure that it's costly both in money, but also can cost someone their life. So far, we've conducted 5 daytime and nighttime operations this year, but we do want to emphasize Vision Zero is not just about enforcement, it's also about education. It's a key component. We really would rather folks be educated on the dangers of texting and driving or speeding or DWI, et cetera. So we do DWI awareness in high schools. We do free child safety seat inspections across our jurisdiction, and also we conduct the Watch For Me pedestrian safety campaigns. So I just want to emphasize, a couple of things to you. This is a citywide emphasis. We do it literally every day to save lives. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that probably the most dangerous thing you'll do today is you get in that car and you drive. If you have loved ones at home, especially teenagers like I do, it's one of the things that's in the back of your mind as you see them walk out the door with that set of keys. So that's a little bit behind the why of what we do this for. And we can entertain some questions about it, but I wanted to also let you know we have Deputy Director Debbie Smith from City DOT here also, who can entertain some questions.
Chief, wondering, I know the city, and I've talked to Debbie before about the possibility of red light cameras and also or speed cameras that's being talked about. I know that ultimately that'll be decided by the city administration, but from a public safety perspective, would that help?
Sure. Well, not saying red light cameras, but I believe that, speed cameras, if it were accepted, of course, by our leadership, could be an effective deterrent. I know that they're being used in other jurisdictions, and, we'd have to see.
You mentioned that there were several areas where there are a lot of crashes. Can you let us know where some of those intersections are, those danger zones?
Well, we can provide maps for you later or areas, but I do know, areas where we've had high concentration of pedestrian fatalities on the east side of Charlotte. We've had DWI crashes all over the jurisdiction, really. So it kind of, that changes. But the specific locations we can give you after the conference.
Is there anything that can be done to improve some of those intersections, maybe beyond having an increased law enforcement presence, maybe additional crosswalks, sidewalks, maybe other partnerships with city or other agencies?
Well, one of the things I can tell you that we have an outstanding city Department of Transportation with some wonderful engineers there, and one of the things they do, they look at any type of infrastructure improvements that can be made on a safety basis, and that's ongoing. So I can tell you those efforts are ongoing as we speak.
Are the mid-blocks, crosswalks like I'm seeing south end being installed related to this campaign? Or
Yeah, that would be a DOT question. I'm not for sure on that.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Debbie Smith, Deputy Director with CDOT. And in answer to your question, absolutely. As part of the Vision Zero efforts, we've been authorized by the City Council with an additional $48 million, $30 million specifically in those sidewalk and pedestrian treatments. And so absolutely, we think those mid-block crossings are an opportunity for us to make the streets safer. Thank you.
Are you coordinating with CMPD for the locations of those improvements?
Absolutely. We work very closely with the CMPD data in order to identify those locations.
Could you give us, off the top of your mind, if you have the numbers in front of you, where some of those would be?
I'd love to get you that map afterward. Wouldn't want to misquote anything. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Chief. All right, thank you all very much for coming. Does anybody have any other questions?
Unrelated question, if you
Sure.
don't mind. The recent arrest, Kelvin Jones, involving the bus stop attempted kidnapping. We had heard that he was arrested at the rail station, the Tom Hunter rail station on North Tryon. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. Any idea of whether what he was doing there, perhaps intend to do this again?
I don't know what his intention was. We found that he was a very, we're very fortunate that we were able to identify him early on in the investigation. We were able to share his picture, and the G4S security officers have recognized him from those pictures. He was wearing the exact same clothes, and we're able to take him into custody without any further incidents. So we think that the potential for future victimization was extremely high. So we're very fortunate that he is behind bars now.
Just one follow-up question, if you don't mind. And
Sure.
I'm fully aware of what your role is and that you don't set jail time at all or anything like that. But this guy just got out of jail for some pretty serious charges. He was in jail, I think, about 12 years in September. Back out on the streets and did this horrible thing. I mean, anything you can say to the community about that?
You know, our goal, I think, when individuals enter prison is to rehabilitate them. Sometimes that doesn't always work, and we're here to protect our citizens and the members of our community. And if you have someone who reoffends like that, we are here to step in and make sure that they go back to jail where they belong.
Lieutenant Fetch, just got a police report from Gastonia. Looks like a CMPD employee.
We're in Charlotte.
Yeah, a CMPD employee had a gun stolen from their
Correct.
car in Gastonia. Can you say get any information about that?
Yeah, we're still looking for the individual responsible for that. We are aware of that.
Just get any information about the circumstances that led up?
Yeah, his vehicle was broken into. His personal vehicle was broken into, and his firearm was taken. So, I mean, that's a good example of why you shouldn't keep unsecured firearms in your car, because certainly individuals break in and take them.
For somebody who's not familiar with your policy, is that allowed to keep a weapon in a vehicle overnight?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me help you.
Yeah.
So some of the details are specific to that case. It was actually in a lockbox underneath the seat. So sometimes people overcome even the best attempts to keep it safe. So it wasn't irresponsibility that led to this one, which is unlike the some 900 that we have in a year on any occasion.
Was it a patrol car or his personal vehicle?
My understanding is personal vehicle. Personal vehicle.
Was he able to crack open that box, or did he just take the box with him?
I'm not sure. Not sure. But it was secured in a lockbox.
Chief, while we have you at the podium, you tweeted out your happiness with AllStar Weekend festivities, and now we're looking ahead to CIAA and the ACC tournament. Very couple busy weeks for you guys. So kind of give us a recap of how you think this weekend went, how you guys are looking ahead to the next couple weeks you have on the docket for the sporting events here in Charlotte.
Yeah, very proud of the work. There was a lot of work going into planning. I told you guys before we're working on succession, so we had a Deputy Chief, Jennings, and also Major Brochu, who took the lead planning it. And then the execution is always with our partners, CFD and everybody else. We're proud of the work. Our people works on long hours. We're able to kind of adjust schedules like we always do. We're coming out of this one, looking to the next one, and we learned a lot of things. We had some very good proactive work, seizing weapons from people that had a history of violence, speaking to what we're trying to do to make sure the right people are in jail. So there was a lot of proactive work that went on too. We're going to continue some of that so we can try to prevent any violence from any future events that we have. Again, I'm humbled by the work, but I'm not surprised. Our people do fantastic work consistently with the big events that we bring to Charlotte. I see no change in that for CIAA or ACC.
To get a shout out from Shaquille O'Neal, of course, probably a little bit of a pat on the back there for your men and women.
Yeah, Caleb is that kind of magnet. He attracts people and goes viral with everything he does on social media, so I'm not surprised there either. But it's good to hear from Shaq, who has a law enforcement aspirations, I hear. To Shaq, we're hiring currently, so if you're interested, come on back to Charlotte and join us. Last thing I'll say is there was a question about violent offenders and them getting out of jail and so forth. I wish we had more control. We don't, but I can tell you this, our focus on priority people continues. I am always amazed at the work we do, staying on top of people that commit repeated violent crime. We as a community have to take that serious. I'm forgiving anybody second chances, but third, fourth, and fifth, it becomes a little bit unreasonable to stand here and say I'm for public safety if I continue to, if I were contributing to people constantly getting out, which is why we take that very seriously. We're happy that this case in particular, the assault that happened at the bus stop, we've resolved that by apprehending this person. We hope the full weight of the justice system now will do its work.
You mentioned hiring. How's that going? I know you have an ongoing.
Depends on who you ask. If you ask me, I say we're not quite where we need to be. If you ask some of our people who are over marketing, they're telling me, Chief, we're up by almost 25%, blah, 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 blah. But I can tell you our people on the street don't feel it. We graduate a class of 30 people, and we net, when all is said and done, because of all the vacancies, about 1 per division. That's just not getting it done for me. The beauty is we have 50, last year had over 50 lateral officers, seasoned officers in other agencies who came in, who can hit the street within a month and a half. So we're making some progress. I'm not satisfied. I'm encouraged slightly, but not satisfied that we're making the headway we need to. I do take solace in the fact that everybody across the country is struggling equally, but that still does not let my people off the hook. There's still more work to be done.
And I know you can always use more officers no matter what, but what's the goal as far as numbers wise, roughly? Do you have a goal of how many you're hoping to get?
Well, I want to fill every vacancy that we have. And then my goal would be, we need more vacancies. I don't think we'll ever get to where we have enough. You can look at studies that are current that show as you increase, you do have an impact on overall crime. I can't say it drives crime down constantly, but I can say increasing your number of cops does reduce crime overall. All right? Anything else?
Just unfortunately, there was another homicide this morning, and there's been a string over the last week. I know a couple years ago you guys did an operation, I forget the name, where you targeted specific neighborhoods where
Yes.
there is violent crime.
Free empowerment, yes.
You got about a bunch of criminals and hundreds of guns off the street. I guess when there are upticks like we've seen this week, do you think about those initiatives, or do you think about initiating them again, or are there already some in place you can talk about that maybe I'm not aware of?
Yes, that one's still ongoing. What I can tell you is even during the NBA, we were proactively doing work with our contact teams. We seized weapons, and we'll give you those numbers. One night, as many as 6. So we're doing that work consistently. But what we can't seem to interrupt is you're acquainted with someone in your house, you have an argument, and you settle it with a firearm. I wish I could enter your brain and prevent that. I'm not quite that good yet. But we're struggling because that interpersonal violence that escalates is something that we can't prevent. We're connected with community relations, doing conflict resolution. We're telling people if you're having these kind of issues, reach out so we can help mitigate and mediate. But 2 people who know each other in a house who get mad at one another and settle it with gun violence is not something that we're able to prevent. It's beyond our control, unfortunately.
Are most of the guns you're getting, are they legal, or are they stolen, or are they illegal guns?
The guns that we seize off the streets, normally about 900 last year were actually stolen weapons. So it runs the gamut. Sometimes we take weapons that are legally possessed, depending on the circumstances, but nearly 1,000 a year are stolen weapons. All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.